It is Monday morning, a special Monday edition of the Sunday RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We're talking about a lot of FAAB stuff and a lot of hot teams out there. We're all coming up next. Happy Monday morning, everybody. A little special edition here. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always by Jeff Erickson. If you could please rate and review the podcast, we really do appreciate that as well. Jeff, sounds like you had a little bit of travel issues last night, but you are home and good. And how's everything?
I'm home and I'm good. Yeah. Travel issues indeed. Good trip to see my dad in Kansas. Good time in Kansas with my dad. Yes. Not a good trip coming home. But at least it was on the homeward leg instead of the going out leg. At least I always think that if you're going to have travel problems, it's on the coming home leg is the one you don't want to. It is a little less bad. Like for instance, I don't have my suitcase right now, but at least I have things at home.
Yeah, and it's a lot less stressful, but it's tough because you just want to get after a trip, you just want to get home, and that's brutal too. But glad you made it. Glad you're here with us. I thought maybe I was going to have to talk to myself for an hour this morning, and that was something nobody wants. So, let's jump into some baseball. It was a fun weekend in baseball, man. Jeff, the Mariners are on fire. 7 straight wins, half game behind the Astros. This team looks really good right now. Made some moves at the deadline. Seattle's rolling right now.
They are, and it's not even the moves that are really. I mean, Josh Naylor's played well since the trade, but Eury Suarez hasn't even been on fire yet. That's the interesting thing. But is this a second half team? We've seen this story before from them. It's interesting to see them kind of make this run again now. They're making a move on the Astros. They've left the Yankees in the dust in terms of the wild card race. Now the Yankees are looking down instead of up.
Man, baseball in New York is tough right now, Jeff.
It is really tough right now. Mariners are even past the Red Sox. It's pretty impressive because the Red Sox were the hottest team in baseball. And they're still 7 out of their last 10. Did lose their last 2 to the Padres, but and the thing is, we talk about this hot and cold and thing. I mean, the Yankees are only 3.5 behind the Mariners, 2.5 behind the Red Sox. They're not like gone, but they are pretty gone in the division race though. 6.5 out in the division.
And Cleveland's only a half game on the Yankees for the last wild card spot. Texas is only 2.5
too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's Yankees playoffs. I mean, I think they're gonna get warm again. They'll figure it out. Judge, when Judge gets going again now that he's back, but. Man, I don't know. They're no sure thing for the playoffs right now. That's for sure. A month ago, you would have said they're definitely in the playoffs, maybe a division or not. But I don't know. It's rough right now. And the Mets have lost 7 in a row. It's tough baseball in New York right now.
Yeah, I know. This started off as a Seattle comment, so we'll pull it back.
Yeah,
my bad.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, but because they're playing good ball. They've got little thing that. Is kind of another thing that's kind of helped them a little bit. They've got the rookie Cole Young, some good on base out of him at second base. They've stabilized that position a little bit more. Polanco carried him early, and now Young is playing there, and he's a good defender as well, relatively speaking. Randy Arozarena had a terrible start to the season and then caught fire before the All-Star break. He got, so he caught fire at the right time. They're getting some things right. Julio's caught fire again, second half.
Yep.
It's kind of funny how it just really is a second half team. And of course, they still have that stable starting pitching that went through Gilbert getting hurt and Kirby getting hurt, and they emerged on the other side.
Yeah, and Bryce Miller should be back here fairly soon. So they're rolling here. But you brought up Josh Naylor, who they acquired at the deadline here. But what is up with this Josh Naylor season? Josh Naylor is leading MLB. He's tied with Jose Ramirez since July 1st in stolen bases. He has 12 stolen bases since July 1. He now has 22 stolen bases. He had 22 stolen bases the entire last 3 seasons combined. You look at sprint speed, he is not fast. It's just something where a veteran kind of just, figures it out. He obviously plays first base. He can read pitches, figure it out, but he just seems like he's going at the right time. And it's amazing. He's got 22 stolen bases out of nowhere.
Yeah, he has. And the thing is, he's done so many of them with the Mariners. Yeah, that's the thing that kind of caught my eye. He's had 11 stolen bases in 15 games, Scott. I mean, think about that. And for the season, 22 out of 24 attempts. So he was running with Arizona before that, but he did 11 stolen bases in 93 games with them. I guess he's got a perma green light, which you love to see.
It's just wild. It's one of those weird outliers, and you're not gonna be able to bank out next year, but he's gonna steal 30 something bags this year. Being not fast, just opportunity means everything, I guess. But 22 steals, 15 home runs, hitting 292. Josh Naylor is with the stolen bases turning into a really, really good pick where he was drafted.
Yeah, for sure. And you wanted more power, and the power is probably not going to get enhanced by playing in Seattle, though he does have 4 homers since the trade. He's actually been a better hitter since the trade, too. He's reinvigorated, I guess. Makes you kind of wonder, like, I what was going on in Arizona? We know what was going on in Arizona. Their season was falling apart.
Yeah.
Everybody knew they were on the trade block. Suarez was in a major slump before the trade. Makes sense that these are humans too, and players react differently sometimes in advance of something like that. When the season's circling down the drain, maybe you play a little differently.
No doubt. The person in the chat has said I'm not awake yet. I'm very awake. It's a Monday morning at 7:28. I'm good at this point. If we were doing 5:28, might be a problem. But 7:28, I'm good. Jeff, speaking of guys in the AL who are leading stats at their spot, Addison Barger leading the AL in RBI since July 1st. This has been a very kind of a quiet breakout. I feel like it was a bit lost in Toronto with Vladdy and Bo Bichette. I don't hear a lot of talk about Barger, but man, 18 home runs, 59 RBIs, 52 steals, hitting 267. Essentially was free. He was a FAAB pickup in most leagues. Hard contact at 54%, barrel rate at 13%. Crazy to see just how good he's been across the board, and it's all fully supported by all the metrics too.
It was presaged by the metrics, as a matter of fact. This was a victory for advanced stats because I saw a lot of people picking Barger up, and I dug in. And I was like, why? Because his numbers at the time weren't great. He didn't have the performance numbers, the roto numbers at the time that people were picking him up, but he did have the hard hit and the barrel rate even back then. People who dug into that, paid attention to that, they got a big win on their hands because of that. I did not, and that it's a reminder. You kind of have to go look in. Yeah, you really have to kind of dig into that every single time, and you're starting to look at players there. Try to find some leaderboards, find those breakouts because. That if you wait for proof, it's going to be too late. But Barger's been great. Kudos to the people there on top of that.
Yeah, and Toronto's obviously been fun. They did lose 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. That Dodgers game, Dodgers-Toronto last night was, or yesterday afternoon, I suppose, was crazy. They got, I don't know if you saw, but Dodgers were down 1, got the bases loaded with Ohtani coming up. Brought in a lefty, took out Jeff Hoffman, who had no control. Usually, obviously, I don't think he had a walk for a month, and he had 4 last night. Brought in a lefty, struck out Ohtani, got Betts to ground out. It was a pretty fun finish there.
Yeah, Blake Trinan blowing it before that in the 8th.
Trinan does not look good, by the way.
No, he doesn't.
He looked okay. I actually went to the game Friday night. Man, Dodger Stadium's crazy. It felt like a playoff game in there. It was Kobe Bryant bobblehead. It was Scherzer versus Kershaw. Legit, like the parking and the concourse, kind of a pain, but it felt like a playoff atmosphere. There was a pretty wild crowd in there.
That's good. That's cool. You like
not if you're parking in like Hancock Park or something like that, but it was.
Well, yeah, that part sucks.
We were not close, but it was fun to have a atmosphere in an August night game that felt like a playoff game.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But for baseball, really plan ahead on a weekend prime matchup, I guess. Show up 3 hours early so you can get a parking spot.
Yeah, we did plan ahead and still ended up with food and drink at our seats like right at first pitch, and it was quite the ordeal. But it was kind of a fun, on a Friday night we don't have to be anywhere. It was kind of a fun atmosphere to see. It was really cool. I think people were just fired up about Kobe. The whole family was there, and then Kershaw, Scherzer kind of added to the mix. It was you don't get 2 Hall of Famers pitching each other very often. It was fun, but
yeah.
Some of the chat mentioned Shea Langoliers. Yes, has been on fire. I think I saw a stat tied for the lead in home runs in baseball over the last 4 weeks or something like that. But I want to talk about his teammate, Jeff. Lawrence Butler was a super hyped guy in drafts. Obviously had a really good year last year. Has had some issues this year. He's only hitting 231, 29% strikeout rate is what's really the problem. But even worse lately, he's been $173 since July 1st, has been sitting against some lefties, moved down the order against some righties. I think he hit 7th on Friday night against a righty. How do you feel about Butler right now? I think that the what we liked last year was, obviously the talent was there, but really dropped the strikeout rate. He went from 27% in his first cup of coffee down to 24%. Bumped back up to 29% this year. I think it's a problem. Barrel rate's down a little bit. Hard contact's down a little bit. Do you think this is the league adjusting to him? Do you think maybe he's got some stuff to figure out? How do you feel about Lawrence Butler's second full season?
Yeah, I am concerned. You want to, and it's a reminder that players aren't linear. They don't progress linearly. The league does adjust, and he may fail to adjust to it. I mean, now a lot more counted on him. He signed the big the contract extension. Who knows what that changes in his approach? How he's working maybe might be different. I don't know. Keep in mind he spent some time in the minors last year, so he was far from a finished product last year. He was on fire obviously after getting called up, but the fact is he was not a made man. He's also only 24 years old, so there's still time for improvement. But yeah, he's going to have to make the next set of adjustments for sure. And I need to dig in a little bit more on what specifically is getting him. If it's consistently one pitch, that's a problem. I think because it's hard to work on if you can't hit a fastball, for instance, there, because I know there's a couple players that are like that. That's kind of an incurable problem. But if it's something more like, if it's something more of the case there where it's just a medley of pitches, then I think he adjusts a little bit there. But we'll see. It is still his third year of his career. But yeah, I'm going to draft him later in 2026 than I did this year.
Yeah, breaking pitches and off speed are really the issue. 40% whiff rate on both of those. So hitting 202 against breaking balls, 210 against off speed pitches. OBPs, everything's low there. Slugging's low against both those. He actually hits the fastball pretty well, but I think it's mostly an adjustment thing. I think also, as a young player, when you start to spiral a little bit, then you press a little bit, and leading off has been, he's probably feels a lot of pressure up there, but I think he'll bounce back. I watch them. I still watch them a bunch. He's still at 15 home runs, 17 stolen bases, but the strikeout rate's a big issue. I think next year will be a really good indication if he can drop that back down to the 2024 levels, or if this is kind of who he is. I think it's gonna determine how significant or how valuable he is as a fantasy player to us.
Yep, for sure.
Sliding over across the coast from Sacramento, we got the Marlins. Speaking of guys that are doing well, I want to flip from good to bad. Both Edward Cabrera and Eury Perez. I want to get your thoughts on them, kind of how high you think they go in 2026. Cabrera's 3.08, 1.13. Eury is 3.25, 1.01. Both of them have a 2.06 ERA in the last 7 starts. I pieced them together just because they both kind of fit right in there. The problem with Cabrera always was, it was not the stuff. The stuff was there. The strikeouts were there. It was the walks. He has significantly cut those walks this year, which is the biggest thing why he's had some success. He's dropped his walk rate under 8%. So pretty good nut mark there considering he was 12% last year. Do you have a preference between these two guys? They're obviously going to be helium guys next year, but how do you feel about these two Marlins? I was going to say young studs, but I guess Cabrera's 27, but studs coming into their own.
I prefer Perez in part because I got Cabrera wrong so much this year. I dropped him on May 18th in my league losing NFBC main event.
Don't go look at his ERA since May 18th.
I won't. I already have.
It's probably.
I assure you, I know. I know. He had on the 10th. He actually pitched well, but only had 2 strikeouts against the White Sox. The benefit of the bargain was at least I'm gonna have all these walks, but at least I'll get the strikeouts. It didn't happen. So the second I cut him, he has a 10 strikeout game against the Angels. And that, this is I cut him in advance of a 2-step under the theory that if I'm not going to use him in that 2-step,
right,
well, we might as well cut him. Well, what's happened since then.
Yeah, timing those guys is so hard. I mean, there's just it's really tough. I dropped Matthew Libator once, and then I felt really bad about it for a while, and he's been bad lately. So it's just it's tough with pitchers. If Cabrera doesn't find the command, he's probably not helping you, but he has, and it's been really good since then. I think I agree. I think Perez is 22. I mean, we got a big difference there, 5-year age difference, and Perez seems to already have figured out. Obviously, he missed last year with the injury, but man, he looks really good. He looks fully back. The strikeout rate's not quite what it was, before the injury, but still 24%, walk rate of 9%. He just kind of looks like he's one of those guys, and I think he'll be the more hyped guy for sure.
I think he will. He'll be the more expensive guy
for sure.
What do you do with his teammate Sandy Alcantara?
Man, I can't figure this out. Every time I think we've got Sandy's back, it's just another bad start. It's been one of the weirdest years. If you had told me he'd be healthy all year, I would have figured that he would have figured it out by now. But last 2 starts, at Atlanta, 5 earned runs, against Houston, 6 earned runs, I think, after the shutout against 5-inning shutout against St. Louis. But I can't figure it out. He had 2 back-to-back good games, then back to 6 of his last 8 games, getting up more than 4 runs. Like,
it's almost like once he didn't get dealt, he let his guard down again.
Yeah, could have been. Like, maybe those last 2 starts were like, dude, trade me and get the heck out of here. But
yeah, man,
it's just, and someone in the chat mentioned last year's bomb on Sandy. That might be it. Maybe he just missing all that time caused the issue. But man, I mean, the one thing that's an issue with him though is if you look at the strikeout rate, like it's a big problem. It's he's an 8.5 swinging strike rate guy right now. He was over 12% the last 3 years. Maybe some of that is coming after the injury. Stuff's not all there, but you'd think sometimes when you come back from that, the command's not there. It's not with him. His walk rate's up too, but the strikeout rate's not there. Usually guys coming back from major injury, the strikeouts can still be there, but the walks are also an issue. But I'm concerned by the swing and miss. I mean, I don't know how you're not looking at this, but you look at the ERA, it's obviously ugly. The whip's obviously ugly, but that strikeout rate is the one thing that me would jump out and be a little concerned about a full bounce back.
Yeah, I would too. And the Marlins, they've cooled off since that huge run in advance of the trade deadline. Do you think they made decisions based on how they were playing right before the trade deadline by not trading Cabrera, by not trading Sandy Alcantara, or was it more a reflection of the offers that were being given?
I think it was definitely how they were playing. I think they got wrapped in. What they traded Jesus Sanchez, and that was probably about it, right?
Yeah. And they of course they had a ready replacement.
Marcy had 5 stolen bases this week. He was really good.
Yeah, he's off to a great start. What do you think about his Hernandez, Adalberto Hernandez?
Yeah, I haven't really added him too much. Every time I look in FAAB, I kind of look at him and then I kind of go away. But yeah, really good start to his call up. 7 home runs and he's played 45 games, hitting 300. The BABIP's really high. It's like 390. Let me look, 386. But he's hitting the ball hard. Yeah, I think that now the playing time's a little better with Sanchez out of there. Although Marcy's up playing center field right now. Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. I think it's worth adding for the hot streak, but be careful of the fact that the BABIP's really high right now. It's just
probably not supported, but
I mean, he hit 234 in the minors last year with some pop, 23 home runs. I would just be really concerned about the batting average. K rate's 29%. When that BABIP kind of regulates a little bit, I think we could have a 200 month pretty easily, I'm afraid.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a ride it while he's hot, but be ready to kind of parachute out of there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Speaking of the National League, we're talking Marlins. Do you think there's any way that good old Kyle Schwarber can steal the MVP from Ohtani? You look at odds, and for months, Ohtani's been a minus a crazy number. But you look at Ohtani and Schwarber right now; their stat lines are very similar. I know Ohtani is pitching, and he hasn't pitched deep into games, but he's starting to rack up some innings now. But you look at Schwarber's at 252 with 41 bombs. Ohtani's 284 with 41 bombs. Ohtani has a bunch more runs. Schwarber has a bunch more RBI, obviously kind of where they hit and teams. Ohtani's got only 7 more steals, which is probably the most surprising thing. This 17-10. But Schwarber walks a little bit more. Schwarber actually strikes out a little bit less. It's really close, but a little bit less. Their ISOs are pretty close. You look at their stat lines and kind of, RBI and runs are 2 things, but one's winning one of them. They're really close right now.
They are. And closer than I thought. The odds were so prohibitively on Ohtani's favor early on.
Much so, yeah.
It'll take a lot to pull back, but the team success matters too. And I think the fact that the Phillies are playing so well, they're starting to pull away in the East. Well, the Mets are starting to fall off in the East, more like it. But
the crazy thing is, I looked at that too. The Dodgers and Phillies, believe it or not, have the same record essentially. I would have thought the Phillies was like 3 or 4 games ahead of them. They actually have the same record.
Yeah. But Phillies now with a 5.5 game lead in the East. The Dodgers only a 2 game lead in the West. So
it's gonna be a battle.
It is. The Padres think this is a fight. And meanwhile, the Mets are like, what's up, Duck?
It's rough. And it's just both New York teams kind of stabilize the bullpen and getting studs in the back end at the trade deadline and making games 6-7 games. It's not worked. It's been so ugly.
It is. It really has. And
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on Schwarber. They're both DHs, so you kind of cancel out. Ohtani pitching probably nudges him up a little bit as it should, but pretty shocking on August 11th. Their stat lines are that similar.
It's kind of crazy that the All-Star game is going to help Schwarber so much, I think. Yeah, I really think that matters a little bit in terms of like perception of him. It's like raising his profile just a little bit higher there.
Do you think we get a little bit of the, Karl Malone, Michael Jordan stuff where like Ohtani wins it every year and he's going to win it so many more times that
voter fatigue?
if it's close enough, maybe give it to the one guy who had the career year and, Ohtani will win some more anyway.
It's possible.
Has to be, right? I get interest into people's minds a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
Because Jordan could have won the MVP every year for like a ton of years. They snuck one in there for other guys. So I think it's going to matter. Ohtani probably is still. I mean, you look at betting odds. He still is the favorite now.
He's prohibitively so in FanDuel, by the way. I'm looking right now.
I'm curious how prohibitively. Are we looking like minus 1,800, something like that?
So at DraftKings, it's minus 6,000. Schwarber's plus 1,600. Ohtani's minus 20,000 at FanDuel. Plus 2,000 for Schwarber.
My God, I wasn't even close.
Yeah, it's now
minus 20,000 is absurd.
It is, and I'm wondering if that's not current.
Okay.
We've got a scraping tool at RotoWire that looks at futures odds, and I wonder if like there's a feed that might not have come in or something like that. But there's just nobody else. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a 2-man race at this point. But that's a really wild line. That's maybe it's not updated, but that's really, really high.
Yeah. It is really, really high. You know who's climbed in those odds?
So I'm looking right now at DraftKings currently on the site. Yeah, Ohtani's still 6,000 there. So your DraftKings line was correct.
Yeah.
And Schwarber's 1,600. There's nobody else within. Pete Armstrong's 40-1. He's slumping right now. That one's gone. There's only 4 guys under 100-1 right now. That's wild.
Yep. Manny Machado has climbed into the conversation a little bit because the Padres are playing so well, and he's just so balanced across the board.
Talk about it. He just kind of sneaky awesome every year. It's weird how it was him and Harper, and they were signing those huge contracts the same year, and Machado just kind of produces every single year. He's so damn good. Yeah,
he is. He really is.
But half as many home runs as Schwarber and Ohtani. Like, it's not close MVP wise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. You mentioned the Mets. We talked about them a couple times. Are the Mets cooked in this division? They're 5.5 back. They are struggling right now. Their pitching is a disaster. There was a stat last week that, and I don't know if it changed last week, but David Peterson's the only Mets starter who had completed 6 innings since June 7th, and that was a couple days ago. So I'll have to look at their box scores last week, but that was the stat last weekend. That's a pretty wild stat. They're a mess. Their pitching is just all over the place.
Well, we talked about them earlier about how just they don't have that ace.
Yeah.
We thought, Senga will be back. He won't be an ace, but it'd be a strong number 2, and they're going to have a mega bullpen behind them there. That hasn't quite worked out that way. It's kind of funny. The Yankees have mecha bullpen as well, and that's not working right now. Yeah. It's just, and some players have backslid a little bit there as well. And that's kind of like, Clay Holmes, for instance, is explainable. He's a converted reliever. This is his first year starting in the bigs since his rookie year when he had 4 starts. And you think about that. Of course, he's probably going to, he's had no more than 70 innings in any given major league season. He's at 122 right now. You would expect him to start faltering right now.
Yeah, and the Senga thing is real. I mean, he's been back for 5 starts now. Hasn't struck out more than 5 guys in the start. Hasn't pitched more than 5 innings in the starts. I get he's coming back, but he doesn't look the same right now. He doesn't look ramped up at all. It's just it's tough. I mean, you're getting 4 and 5 innings from the guy who was your ace in the first couple of months. It's tough. And Peterson's been good, but you mentioned Holmes backsliding a little bit. Montas has not been great. They got Shun Manaea back right now, but you're right. It's like a lot of like, this is the guy that I want pitching the 3rd game of the playoffs, not the first 2 games.
Yeah. And they got hurt that, Cristian Scott, for instance, got hurt last year. He's going through his TJ year. Griffin Canning, that was a brutal injury there. Not that he was going to be an ace either, nor was Tyler McGill, but he's on the 60-day. They've had depth issues and they've had, peak issues there. And that's tough to overcome both.
Yeah. We mentioned the Mariners earlier, talking about how hot they were. Jeff, why are the Brewers so good? They've won 9 in a row. They came back. They swept the Mets this weekend. This team is just, they're 73-44, pretty easily the best record in baseball right now. They are just absolutely rolling. I think their run differential is the highest, also plus 132. It's hard to argue right now through whatever that is, 117 games. They're the best team in baseball right now.
I got many, many, many things wrong, so I want to brag about one thing I got right. On VEASAN, I was touting my best wins bet was the Brewers over 78.5.
I think they're going to make it.
They're at 73 right now. So at least I got that going for me. But so okay, bragging aside, they do everything right. It feels like every defensive play is made. All the I don't want to worship at the temple of clutch. I do think it exists, but man, they've got an extreme case of it. They do everything, and they're beating like the Mets. They swept the Dodgers for the season. It's not just I always want to say they're beating up the bad teams, and they do a better job of that than other teams do. And I still think that's true, but they're beating good teams now too.
Yeah.
That's the thing that is really noteworthy. I don't know if I trust them in the playoffs, Scott.
They have not given you reason to as of yet, but if Woodruff's healthy and Peralta's healthy, they do have the kind of, the top two guys that can pitch. I don't know who throws third. It's probably Quinn Priester just because he's been so darn good. But man, Isaac Collins is balling. They haven't even got a really good year out of William Contreras. He seems to be warming up a little bit lately, but he's got 12 homers and
he's been hurt.
Yeah, we thought he was going to hit 30 bombs a year. He's got 12. Yelich has been good. Andrew Vaughn obviously has been Babe Ruth since they made the trade, but I don't know. They just they roll guys out there and they work. Blake Perkins comes in when they have some injuries. Boom, he's rolling too. And you look at their lineup, you're like, there's no way this is the best team in baseball, but they just kind of get it done.
Well, and their pitching's been so good, and they do such a good job developing pitchers. Look at Quinn Priester, for crying out loud. Yeah. Just as a canary in the coal mine of what they're capable of doing. They're doing something right. Excuse me. You look around in their World Series odds, though, they're typically fourth in baseball. Still, the Dodgers are a big favorite across the board, Scott.
Huge favorite. They're plus 300, plus 400, somewhere in there.
350 at DraftKings, 260 at FanDuel, 275 at MGM.
The Mariners are the third highest.
Yeah, Mariners are third highest. Wow. Then the Brewers and the Astros are tied with them on DraftKings, but behind the Brewers elsewhere. The Tigers are kind of in that neighborhood. The Blue Jays are in that neighborhood. The Yankees finally, Scott, aren't like a top three team in World Series odds. There might be something wrong with this team, but it's
pretty fascinating just how wide open the AL is.
It is.
I don't think you get much argument to say the three best teams in baseball in the National League: the Brewers, Phillies, and Dodgers, and the Padres are right there. I guess you throw Toronto in there, probably in that mix, but yeah, it's wild just how wide open the AL is.
And no one wants to believe in Toronto yet.
Yep.
In part because of their starting pitching. Their starting pitching is not great. If you look at you pull up Fangraphs and you look at, for instance, the starter ERA.
I would say, who throws game one for them? Is it Scherzer right now? I don't even know who that'd be.
We'll see what happens with Bieber.
Oh, that's a fair point. Yeah, he's coming back.
Hasn't come back yet. They've extended that, by the way.
That was interesting. He's gonna make 2 or 3 more rehab starts, right?
Yeah. And so I'm pulling up the latest on him, but
I do not trust Barrios throwing a game one. I guess you probably throw Gossman out there. His whip's really good.
I don't trust Scherzer anymore. I don't trust Bassett. Eric Lauer had a tough outing the other day, but that was against the Dodgers. But that's kind of the point.
They're all good, but they're in a game 5 in a playoff series. It's interesting. I think it's probably Gossman though.
Yeah, it probably is.
And they're all good. I mean, they've got if you don't have to toss Lauer out there, but other than that, they got 4 guys that are good. But you're right. There's no slam dunk. This is my ace, but I don't know. Maybe over a 4, 5, 7 game series, those 4 guys, you're always throwing someone good out there, which does matter.
Toronto 4.43 starter ERA, 22nd in baseball. That's just bonkers. And I know it's not all about ERA. I mean, but it's a pretty decent quick proxy there.
Yeah. The next 6 weeks will be interesting with them. They got so hot for so long. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they finish this thing off.
Yeah. They're the lowest playoff team. The Dodgers have actually started to recover a little bit. They're 15th now. For a while, they were down in the 20s also, but it just shows just how it's been kind of tough for both those teams. Padres have shored up some depth in their rotation. I expect they're 18th in starter ERA. I think that'll probably start to climb at some point in time. Texas still leads baseball, but Philly closed that gap this week, actually, with the head-to-head against them. I mean, Philly kind of made a big statement in Texas this weekend.
Yeah, they did. That was big. But we mentioned AL, NL. That the top 4 hitters average-wise in all of baseball are all in the AL. There are 2 guys in the NL hitting over 300 right now. Freddie Freeman's at 305. Xavier Edwards, who we kind of have knocked as going down, not having a great fantasy year because he only steals 22 bases, but tied with Freeman for the NL batting title right now. But 2 guys over 300 in the NL. There's only 2 guys. Yeah, there's only 2 guys over 300, Freeman and Edwards. Kind of crazy how low batting average, at least the guys in the top end are right now.
Exactly. It is really kind of crazy. And yeah, I think batting average is one of those things that just has been diminished in importance. And it's also harder to do. Pitchers are wizards. Hat tip Joe Sheehan. It's really hard to hit for average in this game right now.
Yeah. Toronto, however, we're just talking about, has 3 of the top 11 guys in batting average. Vladdy, Alejandro Kirk, and Bichette are all hitting over 295. So maybe there's
and they don't strike out as a team either.
Yeah,
that's the other thing.
That does work. But let's jump into week 21 a little bit. But first, a note from our sponsors at Chalkboard. Cash in on your MLB picks this season with Chalkboard. Simply choose more or less of your favorite player stats to win up to 5,000 times your money. For a limited time only, new players get $20 free with no deposit required. Yes, you heard that right. $20 free just on sign up. See why over 1 million fans have already locked in with Chalkboard to turn their sports knowledge into cold, hard cash. Whether you're locking in the perfect slip with alternate lines, using the cash out feature to take your money and run, or hammering the daily promos, today is your chance to win up to $40,000 on a single entry. Stop sitting on the sideline and get into the game with Chalkboard Fantasy Sports, now available in 30-plus states. Download Chalkboard today and use promo code ROTOMLB, that's ROTOMLB, to get $20 free with no deposit required. So real quick, Jeff, I do want to get to FAAB real quick before we jump out of here, but there's some decent teams with 7 games this week. 2 in the AL, the Tigers and Twins play 7, 4 in the NL. The DBacks, Rockies, Nationals, and the aforementioned Phillies all have 4 this week. Phillies have a really nice schedule, so you can score a lot of runs. Good for that Kyle Schwarber MVP candidacy right now.
Yeah.
3 at Great American Small Park, then 4 at Washington against that pitching. Really nice setup there. They do get Mackenzie Gore, who bounced back yesterday against the A's after a really rough outing, but he was really good yesterday. 10 strikeouts and 1 hit given up. But Philly's a really good setup. And then some of the teams with really good ballparks are home all week. Both our former A's and our current Reds both are home all week. A's have 6, 3 Tampa, 3 the Angels. Reds home all week, 3 Philly, 3 Milwaukee. So should be some scoring in the heat out there in those games.
Yeah, should be. Woe to thee who tries to figure out who the A's closer is going to be, because they haven't had a save since the deadline, since trading Mason Miller.
You don't think it's the King, Elvis Alvarado, after his save yesterday?
I think he got a win yesterday.
Oh, you're right. He did get the win. Then they scored twice, but he pitched the 9th also with the lead.
Yeah, that's right. I think he's the best so far, but yeah.
I really like Sean Newcomb. He's been really good as a reliever, but I think, lefty, they're probably going to match him up. But Alvarado has strikes out a lot of guys. He's at a 14.5% swing strike rate. I looked at him after the win / kind of save yesterday, but 304, 127. The walks are the problem here, though. And with a closer, and we go in there and walk that first guy, it's maddening. But 12.7% walk rate, that's what's going to hold him back if somebody does.
Yeah, that's why I did have a bid on him in Tout Wars. He wasn't my top bid, but he was in my waterfall at least. But he, Michael Kelly, and Newcomb are the 3, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it's hard to get excited.
It is hard to get excited, and it's not a ton of wins there as it is. Although they've been playing pretty well the last couple of weeks. Brewers have a good setup. They're 3 home against Pittsburgh, 3 at the Reds. Pretty good hitting setup there. D-backs look really good too. 3 at Texas, then 4 in Coors. You get a 4-game Coors schedule. That's always really good. Not only the park, but the brutal pitching in Colorado. So Arizona should they've kind of been a makeshift lineup right now. You got to figure out who's playing. Alec Thomas is playing a bunch, so maybe a decent pickup there. But D-backs should be set up to score a lot of runs this week if you can figure out who's doing the run scoring. Yeah,
exactly. And it's just trying to find, this is hustle season.
Yes, it is.
It's grinding season. You can really kind of take get an advantage over people that are football minded.
We obviously do this a lot and spend a lot of time on it, but there's always guys right now. There are a couple of guys yesterday in FAAB that I didn't know their names. I had to go actually research them, and the guys are getting full-time at bats too. It's interesting. You get this time of year where you get these new guys and full-time at bats. You got to look at these guys and research them, because some of these guys fall into a lot of stats.
Yeah, it's also back to school time. It's also stuck in travel hell time. Oh wait, that's just me. But yeah, point is, it takes away from the time you can put into it there. So
it does. Yeah.
If you have that time, use it. Use that as a lever.
Yeah, very few news and notes this week. It was a really good injury weekend, which we haven't had many of those. Yeah, we got some guys coming back. Cristian Javier making his 2025 debut today. He is conceivably making 2 starts this week if it goes well. So he was not available in a lot of leagues, so I didn't really focus on him in FAAB, obviously. But it'd be good to see him back. Obviously, someone that was a fun guy to watch. He's got Boston and Baltimore this week, both at home. If he pitches both games, I just don't know how deep he's going to go, but good to see him back. Byron Buxton is supposedly going to be back this series again. Minnesota's facing the Yankees. 3 games in New York. The note yesterday was he's going to be back during the series. I don't know if that's today or that's Thursday, or Wednesday, I should say. They played Detroit or play against Detroit Thursday. But Buxton's going to be back, probably a sit for the first half of the week as he gets in there. But then roll him out there for the second half of the week. To the person in the chat who asked, drop Shanuel or Mayo for Buxton, I absolutely would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Buxton was just too good, and this injury seemed like it was pretty minor.
And I would get him in this week too. I would not even worry about which day he comes back. Right. Just get him in.
Fair enough. Yeah, and if he comes back Wednesday, it's only 2 games, but it's Byron Buxton. He should be pretty good there, and the chances are he throws a lot. So that's fair. I'm gonna take the correction there. I probably will throw him unless I get a negative news update there. Landen Roupp for the Giants, 3-inning rehab outing on Sunday, so you've been holding him. It's not too far away there. Jeff Hunter Green coming back this week. Sounds like he's going to pitch Wednesday against the Phillies. Not a really soft landing spot there in the small park, but it'd be good to see Hunter Green back on the mound.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to use him, even though I know there's a really good chance he doesn't get his 5, and it's against Philly. But the league where I have him, I've been scraping by with some pretty ugly pitchers. I had I got to tell you the player here because it was a nasty 2-step. Like, okay, I'll use him, and I got duly punished for him, including yesterday. Burrows, that was it. Mike Burrows.
I actually liked that start this week too, and it was yesterday. Yesterday was the Reds game, right? He gave the 3-run homer to Andujar in the first inning. He pitched pretty well after that. It's just that when you get that 3-run jack early, it's just tough to come back from that. Yeah, Burrows was rough this week.
Yes, I think yesterday in that league, it's the XFL. I think it was the day that my chances died. They may have already been dead, but 22 innings, 16 earned runs,
not great,
13 walks, 26 hits. Jeez. And the 634, 17.8, 1.78, 1.718 whip, which on its face, it doesn't look bad, except it's 22 innings of that.
Yeah, so, that's a big whip right there.
Yeah, that's a hurtful number there. I had Jeff Hoffman and his 5 walks in that game. I think this might have been a home plate umpire thing because Lauer was super wild in this one too. So this is one of the things that we don't really handicap there. And I don't know how you
but just so we're clear, Hoffman was not. He was all over the place. He was not a home plater. He was just like nothing. I didn't
get to watch it, so there you go.
I watched the 9th because I think the problem with Hoffman is he threw 18 pitches in the 8th to get them out of the 8th, and then he just looked gassed in the 9th. They didn't have anybody else. They had one guy in the pen, the guy who came in and actually got the job done. But Hoffman he looked like he was gassed more than anything. I mean, he was missing by a good amount.
Yeah.
Other than that, the last note, since you mentioned the Dodgers, Roki Sasaki beginning his rehab assignment beginning Thursday. I did not pick him up and stash him anywhere, Jeff. I was not. I didn't love how he looked when he was healthy. I think they're going to baby the crap out of him, and they probably would like to get him ready for the playoffs. I think it's gonna be tough to get fantasy worthy 5+ inning outings from Sasaki anytime soon. Maybe in September, but I think we're a pretty long ways away from him making starts you feel comfortable throwing in a fantasy league.
Agreed. The comment I saw from whether I forget if it's from Dave Roberts or someone else is like, we got to get his confidence up too. Yeah. Yes, it's great he's throwing 97, but we need to get him to believe in himself again. What?
Yeah.
How much did you spend to getting him?
Right. That's I mean, but he wasn't great when he pitched, so maybe he just you got to figure out how to get major league hitters out. So it'll be interesting there. But let's jump into FAAB. Starting pitching, you mentioned is tough to find. There were a couple of interesting names this week. I want to just hit these guys real quick. Luis Gil in New York was available in, I think it was like 96% of main events just because he'd been hurt and nobody was stashing him for 4 months. So he's available in a lot of leagues. And then Cade Cavalli in Washington, another guy coming off injury, pretty touted prospect. He has 2 starts this week conceivably. He was available in every league because nobody was stashing him. He obviously missed the first 4 months of the year. Did you were you aggressive with these guys? Was there a guy you liked more than the other? How did you kind of feel about Cavalli and Gil, who definitely seemed like a step ahead of everybody else in the starting pitching market this week?
I like Heal more than Cavalli because of the team, which is weird saying because the Yankees are playing like dog meat right now. But
so are the Nationals, by the way.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing.
Yeah.
I also worry about Cavalli getting babied a little bit more than I am Heal. But I still think it's worth a stab at upside. Sure. The big, in my main event league, Chris Sale was available. And that was the big bid there.
How much did he go for?
123.
Okay.
Jenny Butler got him. So
yeah, Sale is making a rehab start this week, right? Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, and there's a lot of back and forth with Dave O'Brien, fantastic beat writer for The Athletic, with fans saying they should shut him down. By the way, folks, they can't shut him down unless he gives his consent. If he's healthy,
he very much seems like he wants to finish out this year and pitch, which I fully respect. He's making his rehab AAA with AAA Gwinnett on Tuesday.
Yep. And here's the thing, too, by the way, it's not just for like getting ready for next year or just wanting to pitch because you're a pitcher. He also has career achievements in mind, too. When Kershaw got his 4,000 strikeout, Sale's the next guy on the clock, 25-28 right now. Can he get 3 more years? Is that enough to get him to the over the finish line there? I don't know. I mean, you look at the number of games he's pitched in the last 5 years, probably not. You probably need more than that, but still.
177 innings last year, 90 so far this year. Obviously, this year is going to be cut short, but I mean, I think that it's weird. Like, you forget that these guys really love what they do. I mean, a lot of these guys are competitive and like what they do. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you and I go out there when we're a little banged up and play recreation sports. So it's like these guys are obviously super committed. There are guys that I don't want to get hurt and shut it down, but for dudes that want to play, even not contender, like I have much more respect for Sale now that I know he wants to go out there and pitch. I really like that.
I agreed.
I mean, it's what he does. He loves to do it. So it's it'll be interesting to see how good he is. He threw 30 pitches in the simulated start last week. So we're probably at least a few weeks away from him. You got to make probably 2 or 3 rehab starts at least to get the pitch count up. But yeah, I mean, if you get him for September pitching like Chris Sale, that's a huge ad. But
it is.
I was pretty close on Cavalli and Heal. I went back and forth. I think I ended up with Cavalli higher, but I had them kind of in the same bid range. I ended up getting Cavalli in a lot of leagues, kind of in the mid 20s or low 30s bid. So, a lot of strikeout upside. He's young, but you're right. They're probably going to baby him. But he's thrown 74 innings in the minors already this year. So that's a lot. I mean, they're throwing him a lot, but you're right. That probably means even more than baby him. He's not going to go over, say, I don't know, 110, 120 innings would be probably the extent of that. But strikeouts, 25% in the minors. I like both guys. I thought they were both interesting. I had Cavalli a little bit higher, but I could probably argue either way. Yeah,
gets at KC and then home against Philly this week. So one good, one bad.
That second Philly start freaked me out, but I'm gonna throw it. I picked him up, and he's got 2 starts. I'm gonna see what we got here. I'm gonna throw it.
And it's not even bad. I mean, it's not even that good for KC because they've been a much better hitting team the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And they don't strike out a lot either. So there's that. Actually, Philly strikes out more than KC.
Yeah. Someone in the chat mentioned they're streaming Jeffrey Springs today and Jacob Lopez tomorrow for the A's. I really like that, except for the fact that they are in Sacramento, so that's gonna be tough. But both those guys have been pitching really well. Lopez especially. Springs I think has 2 straight shutouts, but Lopez has been really good and a lot of strikeouts too.
Yep.
But man, that park is scary though,
for sure.
And it's hot in Sacramento right now, so it's tough. Anybody else you liked at starting pitching? I saw some bids on Hurston Waldrep in Atlanta, although I don't think we fully know when he's going to pitch. I think he's going to pitch Friday. It's at Cleveland. It's kind of up in the air a little bit. They still got Carrasco in there. They got Sale coming back, but it seems like Waldrep probably makes his start this week, and then kind of we'll see what happens going forward. He had some bids in there. Ryan Berger, who went from I think San Diego to Kansas City, got some attention there. But another guy that I don't know where he throws unless they take Falter out or Lorenzen maybe goes to the bullpen. Berger might lose his spot, even though he's been pitching pretty well.
That's what quelled my, kind of quashed my bids on him. Except then again, I'm the guy that picked up Troy Melton in Detroit when he was briefly listed as considered for a start this week for Detroit. I picked him up in AL Town. It's him versus Berger versus a couple other guys in that sort of realm.
Yeah.
But the problem, AL only league. I mean, good luck finding anything there, but
no doubt. Someone in the chat asked about Taijuan Walker this week. He does have has 2 starts at Cincinnati and then at Washington. Conceivably, if Aaron Nola came back, that might get screwed up on the back end, which would suck because you want at Cincy scares you a bit in that ballpark. You want at Washington, but they could maybe make it though if Nola comes back Saturday. They could throw Ranger Suarez on Sunday and kind of skip Walker, but they got a 5.5 game lead. If he throws twice, he could work, but man, Taijuan Walker always scares me. 7% swinging strike rate. I know he's been pretty decent so far, but he always scares me. He's so blow up prone.
He is.
So yeah, I looked at it and then I decided to stay away from it. But I'm, if you're in a league where you're chasing wins and strikeouts, he's on a really good team, obviously, and that can work. But if you need ratios, I stay away there
for sure.
Real quick, I'm gonna get relievers and hitters before we jump out of here. But a note from NFFC: the NFFC RotoWire Fantasy Football Online Championship is live. Play fantasy football against your favorite RotoWire experts on NFFC this football season. Jeff Erickson, Nick Whalen, and more will compete in a RotoWire NFC Online Championship for a shot at $250,000. Sign up for a draft today at rotowire.com/high stakes. That's rotowire.com/high stakes. Jeff, I felt like there were a couple of closers that were definitely popular. David Bednar in New York. I think he was like 2/3 rostered in the main event, but very available in the 12 teamers. Devin Williams fell apart this week. It was pretty ugly. There was already some chatter that maybe he was going to not close all the games. It was a really ugly week. He blew the game again on Saturday. Bednar seems like he's probably the guy in New York right now. We talked about their struggles, but I think they probably have to get it going at some point. How aggressively would you bid on Bednar if he was available in your league?
I think it's all about how much do you need, how many points can you gain in the standings?
Yeah.
It's really just, we're at that point in the season, 7 weeks left. It's really truly all about if you need the saves or not. If I need them, I'm going to be super aggressive.
Seems like it's going to be tough for there to be a more higher upside good pitcher or closer available the rest of the way. I felt like If you needed saves, like you said, this was the time to go for it right now. Yep.
I mean, you can fish in the Keegan Aiken waters, and I have, and you get what you get from this weekend. You get a save one day and a blow up the next.
Yep.
So that's kind of what you're getting with other teams.
Bednar feels like the guy could lock it down. The Yankees could get rolling a little bit. He could fall into a pretty good chunk of saves down the stretch here.
Agreed.
Phil Maton in Texas. We were there was that 24 hours where he was the Cardinals closer after they traded Ryan Helsley. But Robert Garcia in Texas is struggling. The Rangers are playing pretty well, so there should be some wins here. Maton seems like he might be next up. He's not. He's a 32-year-old guy, but pitching really well. He's pitched well for 3 or 4 years in a row. Seems like he might roll into this job here and at least pick up part of the saves in Texas.
Yeah, and Garcia had back spasms earlier in the week, and then was still able to pitch. Got a loss against the Yankees. Maton, he did get a save on Tuesday. They did not have save chances over the weekend. He did pitch yesterday and gave up a run. So that he's not perfect either. I do think it's interesting. He's got the right-handers advantage though, except the Rangers added another lefty at the trade deadline. So they actually have 2 other lefties in the bullpen behind Garcia. So they don't have to use Garcia as the lefty specialist guy by any stretch. So I'm interested to see where the next save goes here.
Yeah, my guess would be Maton, but I don't think it's any sure thing. And then maybe they mix and match a little bit. Bruce Bochy does not like to mix and match though, so I think he would like a guy, and I think it's probably Maton right now, but it's far from locked in. But I think that was the second. If you couldn't get Bednar wasn't available, that Maton was definitely the guy to go to after that. Was there anybody else you liked at closers? I think Arizona is just kind of a stay away. It's just there's no guy there, and it's kind of a mess. There was some Kendall Graveman buzz earlier in the week, but then I think he threw in the 6th inning yesterday in a game with a big lead. Hunter Gaddis in Cleveland, we talked about last week. The days Cade Smith doesn't close. Maybe you get some Gaddis saves. I think he had another one this week. Justin Topa in Minnesota. It looks like Cole Sands that we thought might be the guy isn't the guy, but I think there's probably just not a guy in Minnesota.
I think there's not a guy in Minnesota. I think there's not a guy in Sacramento. I think there's not a guy in St. Louis. Maybe kind of half a guy in Romero, but Baltimore, there's kind of sort of a guy, but it's just not feeling great.
Some in the chat asked, would you rather play Kerry Carpenter or Isaac Collins this week? That's a tough one because Isaac Collins has been on fire. But Kerry Carpenter in Detroit gets 7 righties this week. There are very few guys that I would not play. I would play instead of Kerry Carpenter, and Isaac Collins, as much as I like him, is not one of them. I go Carpenter for sure. He's a ton of power, and 7 righties is just too good.
Agreed. It is hurtful that we have to ask the question as a 6 leagues Kerry Carpenter owner, but
I feel pretty good about your Kerry Carpenter thing. I think it's more of a pro Isaac Collins take than an anti Kerry Carpenter. I think Kerry Carpenter's a stud.
He hasn't quite been fully studly this year.
He had just missed so much time on the IL.
Yeah, he's been better lately, but counting stats: 45 RBI, 48 runs. That's
That's only 90 games.
Yeah. Well, that's also part of the equation. He never plays against lefties. Yeah. 8 walks, 71 strikeouts for Kerry Carpenter this year. So one of the leagues I have him is OBP.
The walks are kind of wild. He was a 7.5% walk rate guy. He's a 2.5 walk rate. This guy. So it's not the strikeouts. Strikeouts are actually down. It's just the walks are way, way down.
Yeah, but exactly.
Still 14% barrel rate, 21 bombs in 90 games, 7 righties this week. I think that Kerry Carpenter is it's a huge start this week. I love him this week. Speaking of offense, real quick before we jump out of here, hitter FAAB. This is one of the weaker hitter FAAB bidding periods of the whole season. I just could not find a lot of guys I liked. If Luke Keyshaw was available in your 12-teamer, I really like that one. He's gotten up to 5 or 6 games in the infield, so maybe he's going to get off this utility only thing here at some point. But if you have an Ohtani or Schwarber, obviously it's tough. You got to wait for that to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but he looks really good as you watch games there. He can really hit, but I had trouble with anybody else here. I kind of like JJ Bleday a little bit, getting a lot more playing time for the A's. Been hot since he got called back up, and they have 6 games at home this week. If you wanted Alec Thomas, the Arizonas that we mentioned the schedule with Colorado this week. I did not like a lot in offense, though. I'm hoping maybe you could tell me someone that you were bidding on because Kyle Karros in Colorado playing a lot of third base for them. They got a 4-game weekend series in Coors, but it was tough this week on offense.
It was. The Heriberto Hernandez we took a stab at in one league. It was a week.
It was
for hitters. So nothing that I got too excited about for sure.
Yeah, and I was looking to add, and every time I went, I'm like, I just can't find anyone. Any interest in either a Victor Robles stash now that he's on making his way back, or a Jordan Lawler stash? I feel like we've talked about a Jordan Lawler stash about 14 times over the last couple of years. I did not grab either one of them, but I did see some smart players grabbing them.
Yeah, Jordan Lawler. I mean, the runway is open for him now.
Yeah. And he's already making rehab starts, so it's probably not too far away. But I don't know. Do we expect him to just come up and hit?
I expect him to play and maybe get more of a chance. As far as performance, not sure, but I will say this: at least if and when he gets the call this time, he shouldn't be looking over his shoulder like he has every other single time he's been.
Super important too, right? I mean, that matters so much.
I mean, he's not going to play his preferred position of shortstop. He's going to have to play third base. Sorry, Blaze Alexander. But
I looked at Blaze Alexander too, and then I was like, I don't know why I'm bidding on this guy, and I kind of moved on. Playing time was the only thing with Alexander that I really liked.
Yeah, but it should be Lawler's first real extended chance. Hopefully they don't screw that up.
And he's obviously been really good in AAA this year. Obviously, the major stint did not go well. He only had 19 at-bats, but had no hits, but it did not go well. But I think he could work. I don't know if he's going to come up and hit. But if you had a spot, I can see that. If you had a spot and you're desperate for steals, maybe Victor Robles. But I don't know. Does Victor Robles just roll back into full-time at-bats in Seattle? I don't know how it's going to work. I guess it depends on if they want to how much they want to trust or play Dominic Canzone. It's probably the one spot. He's not going to play for a Rosarena or Julio. Obviously, at Layla there now, Suarez there now. I don't know if the playing time is going to be fully there for Robles, but maybe he just plays for Canzone. But I think it's probably a little bit of shifting and moving around there too.
Yeah, I think that's probably what happens there. I don't think Canzone is irreplaceable, but he's not bad either. And the thing is, we'll wait till September.
And the problem is there. I think Robles is righty and Canzone's lefty. So if they tune a little bit, that helps Canzone too. So I don't know what the playing time is going to be there. If I'm going to stash somebody, I want to feel pretty good that once they get called up or back from the IL, they're going to play every day and be productive too. It's hard to stash as it is. You want to make it sure it's for somebody that you're pretty sure you're going to play all the time too.
Exactly.
There have been a couple of rookies mentioned in the chat. Samuel Basalo to stashes. If we're talking NFBC, those guys aren't available or they're rostered. But most leagues it's not available. But yeah, that could work. There's an August 15 rookie deadline where if they can call guys up in the service time thing. So you might get some Bubba Chandler or Samuel Basalo might get some call ups there. It's possible that we see a rookie influx one more time here.
Yeah. Although you kind of wonder why hasn't it happened already in the case of Basalo, but hey, especially because they went. Was Basalo hurt himself for a while?
I think he's played 72 games, so he must have been hurt at some point. Yeah, but 23 bombs in those 72 games have been pretty good. But I mean, he's 20 years old too. He
had an oblique issue in July, so that's why he didn't get called up when the Orioles were going through all their injury.
Because
catcher injuries.
Rutschman was out. But I mean, I don't know. They're not in contention. You feel less forced to call up if you're not contending, and just kind of you can afford to give him like a full time there, especially at 20.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. They did say there was a quote that said it'd be beneficial for him to get some time in the big league this season. So I think he's come up at some point. It's just a matter of when. But do you have anybody else? I looked at Cristian Moore a little bit. He's playing a bunch for the Angels, although they've got some, Moncada and Rengifo issues maybe for playing time there. But it was a tough week. It was a tough week to find offense. It
was. It really was. I don't have anybody else to add.
Yeah. Last thing before we jump out of here, Michael Conforto is having an all-time bad season. He's hitting 191 with 25 RBIs and 366 plate appearances for the Dodgers. That is really, really difficult to do.
Yeah, and I thought for sure they were going to trade for Stephen Kwan. For sure. And the price must have been prohibitive. Yeah. Or the Guardians just said, wait a second, we still think this is a fight.
Yeah. And now they're a half game out of the playoffs, so probably a good thing. But it's just crazy. You expect Conforto to get going a little bit, but 25 RBIs playing for the Dodgers is like, and he hits whatever he does, where he hits in there. He's always behind, Smith and Betts and Freeman and Ohtani at some point. I know he's not right behind them, but
comes up with runners on base and uniformly disappoints. Like
brutal. That's a brutal year. I mean, it's just such a hole in their lineup when he plays.
I went to one game so far this year, and it was just a dreadful game against the Twins pre-deadline. And twice he comes up with 2 or 3 runners on base, twice ground ball double play. One of them he kind of smoked, but the other one was just a total give up at bat. And it's just
he is 21 for 131 for a $160 batting average with men on base this year.
It's just
that's brutal. He's got it's really bad.
It is. And I was one of the people that believed that he would be able to turn around. He just wasn't able to.
I kind of thought he'd be just okay at least, and he's not been okay at all. So, no. But all right, well let's jump out of here. You got to go do a radio show. I've got to go to work. It's Monday morning here, so but I'm glad we were able to get in. Glad you're able to get back from your travel. I'm glad glad you're home, and that's all done with. So that's good there. Other than that, I hope everybody has a really good week, good fantasy week. We're back at you next Sunday night, back to regular time next week. So we'll see everybody then. Thanks for listening, and thanks for chatting, and we'll be back soon.